All right, hello everybody. We're going to get started with the presentation today. So thank you guys for joining us. My name is Alexandra Briggs. For those who don't already know me, I am the student organization specialist here at Lone Star College-Kingwood. So I oversee all of the clubs and organizations, how to start clubs, purchases for clubs, travel for clubs, basically anything related to getting students interested in clubs, getting them active, and maintaining the clubs I oversee. So if we haven't already met, please reach out to me if you have any questions in the future. So today we are going to be talking about fundraising, which is a great opportunity for RSOs. Obviously, after the pandemic, we got cut for a lot of our funding this year. So we're hoping to maybe have that back in the fall. It's kind of up in the air. But in the meantime, I figured we would have this presentation to teach you guys about other ways to get funding if for some reason we won't get as much during, COVID time. So let's get started. All right, so today we're going to cover different points. The first is hosting a fundraiser. Then we're going to talk about brainstorming and the fundraiser request form, which needs to be filled out as well. We'll go through some fundraising ideas and then fundraising do's and don'ts. Let me fix this because I think it's on a timer. Let's see. Yes, there we go. Perfect. And we'll go through the do's and don'ts as well. So let's get started with hosting. So the first opportunity when you're thinking about a fundraiser is to start with your why. So what is making you want to host a fundraiser? Is it because you don't have enough funds for something that you're looking at doing? Is it because you want to raise funds for a different organization? So maybe your RSO is super excited about getting involved in like Black Lives Matter or an environmental justice organization, and you'd like to donate funds to that organization specifically. If that's your why, that's awesome. Most of the time, it's just to raise money for something that RSOs want, such as going to a conference, purchasing supplies, hosting an event, any t-shirts or other promotional items. And with that, you'll just have to put all that money into your Fund 50, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. So where are the funds going? So like I mentioned, are they going to your RSO? Are they going to a nonprofit? Is there another thing you're planning on doing? Are you looking at donating those to build a scholarship for students that are interested in environmental science because you're an environmental club, something like that? So you really want to think about where those funds are going. And then I really like to do a brain dump, which is thinking about all those fundraising ideas that you have and just kind of dumping them all into one document. So some ideas would be, like a car wash, a restaurant sale, baked goods sale, stuff like that. So just getting all of those ideas you and your RSO think about out into the open so they're all in one document so you can really narrow it down when you need to. And that can include all of the supplies needed too. So if you want to start writing down, you think you need a poster board and markers, you need t-shirts, you need posters made from creative services, stuff like that. You want to put all of that into one document where everybody can access that information. And then fundraising is a group effort. So who from your RSO is going to be working on the fundraiser? I want to say this, fundraising, again, is a group effort. So if you, as the president of your RSO or as the advisor, are thinking that fundraising is a great idea because you guys need the funds for X, Y, and Z, make sure that the whole RSO is on board, because you can't have two people creating a full fundraiser and running it smoothly and expect to get the funding that you need for something. You want to make sure that you have a group of students that's really involved, whether that be just your officer team that's handling like the main business, but your members are participating in some form, or the whole membership, or partnering with another club if you don't think you can do a fundraiser on your own. So for example, if you were to do a car wash, and you're going to charge $5 per car, if you wanted a pool with another RSO, that would be a possibility too, and then you get more students involved. So just really thinking about who is going to be running this, because you don't want everything to be left on one person in the end. And then from there, you want to set a timeline. So you want to nail down a great date, time, location, any action steps you need, because it's important that you know exactly when it's going to be so you can market it for as long as possible. So using the example of the car wash again, it would be less helpful if I posted a flyer in the hallway of the SCC today saying that the car wash is tomorrow. If I knew weeks in advance and planned it weeks in advance with those action steps and really set a day and time, that gives you enough time to really market what you need to do. So from there, let's go into the fundraiser request form. So I'm going to pull it up, but this is like the basic stuff that it also has. So let's pull this form up. This is also used for donation drives. So if you are donating items, so say, after like hurricane season, with everything, or like the winter freeze, for example, that just happened, and you wanted to donate items to those in need, so like blankets, food, water, stuff like that, you would still use this form. It's just combined together to make it easier. So let's go down this a little bit. So first you'll do your name, and I'll fill it out because it does take some steps. Email, then you're going to put your phone number. And then your RSO name, so Environmental Club. And then right here, who are you planning to raise the funds for? So it asks you right on there after you're planning. So I'm going to say for our RSO, do you plan to raise monetary or non-monetary? Monetary means money, non-monetary means donations for a donation drive. So if you're doing a donation drive, you'll do non-monetary, and it brings up this form for donation drive request form. But for now, we're going to do monetary. Okay.
We do not see the forms that you're typing on.
Oh, it's not showing it? I'm so sorry. Let me share the screen. Share. Let me stop sharing and then share it again. Thank you so much. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back up to the top. So here, it talks about right here that fundraisers, this is important too. Fundraisers, you cannot pay for fundraisers out of Fund 14 budget. So if you get a budget from the college, you can't buy your supplies with that money. You'd have to purchase them on your own. And that could be, pooled money between the clubs, like everybody pitches in $5, and then they get their $5 back at the end or something. It's up to you guys how you want to do that. So I did want to put that there. So name, email, phone number. Obviously, it didn't like that one. Let's see if that's better. Perfect. Name of the organization here. So I just put Environmental Club. Then raising funds, I'm going to do the RSO for this one, but you could do nonprofit. And then monetary versus non-monetary, as I mentioned, this would bring up the donation drive information, the policy, what you guys are doing, when it begins, that information. But for the fundraising specifically, we're going to do monetary. Okay. How much do you plan to raise? So, for example, if you're looking at just purchasing t-shirts for your club, I'm going to say, I think maybe $500 would be good. So I'll just put an estimate, because you can always plan to raise more or less depending on what you want. what secured method has been developed to safely store this money? So for this, you could put my advisor's office, a lockbox in their office, student life. We want to know where that money is. I don't want you to give it to a student. We've had that in the past where a student has kept money from fundraising and they plan to bring it to campus and then something's happened and, you know, the money just doesn't come back. So we just want to make sure that it's in a secure spot. So I'll just put advisor office for this. And then how will it get to the final destination? Meaning how will it get to the business office? Because all of this money goes into what they call Fund 50. Fund 50 is essentially just an account that you can take money in and out of. Whereas for the Fund 14, you can't put any money into it. It's just what the college gives each club. So how will that money get to the business office? So I would just say advisor brings money to the office. Something like that. So that way they know how that money is going to get over there. Okay, and then here, the person on this form is solely responsible for depositing the funds and making sure that members follow the guidelines. So I would recommend, if you're going to fill this out, to have your advisor do it. So if my advisor is me, I'm going to put my information, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that means that I am solely responsible for all of the donations of money or the items if you're doing the non-monetary. And I'm the one that's the point of contact. So once this gets submitted, it shows you the date and time it was submitted. It goes automatically to my email. And from there, we read over it, the Office of Student Life staff, we read over it, and then we'll send you an email saying if it's been approved or denied. This is the best way for you to be able to see if there's anything we need explanation on or if there's anything that needs to be fixed. So let's go back to the presentation. Let me stop sharing this one. Now that I know I can't go back and forth. All right. So let's start with some fundraising ideas. This is just a great way to give you a little sliver of ideas. I mean, there's vast majority. You can just Google or go on Pinterest if you love Pinterest and just look up fundraising ideas, fundraising for college, anything like that. So sales. So if you want to do, like I said, a car wash, if you wanted to sell t-shirts, maybe for hurricane relief, you know, if you're doing donations for that, you're buying t-shirts and then selling them for a little bit higher. It's awareness of, you know, hurricane relief, but also, you know, you're making money off of that. Gift wrapping, super, super popular during the holidays. And I know that a lot of businesses, if they have gift wrapping, sometimes they actually have volunteer opportunities where you can go and do that. I know like certain bookstores will do that, maybe like Barnes and Noble. There's a bookstore by us that's called BAM, back in Michigan where I used to live, and they would let you volunteer and then you could get tips from doing that as well. So that's a good idea. Tournaments. People love tournaments. People love being able to get active to do something with their money. So hosting a dodgeball tournament in the gym. Video game tournaments are super popular nowadays. So everybody enters, they pay $5, and the winner gets a portion of the money that was raised or something. You know, you got to give them something if it's going to be a tournament too, because they're going to be looking for a prize. Stress relief events, super popular too. Canvas painting, if you bought the supplies. Charged admission, that would be a great way to do it, or other crafts. You know, you could have like, for example, like a kids' night. You know, you buy different crafts. Parents can bring their children, they pay a certain portion to get in, and then they can do the crafts or something like that. Competitions, similar to tournaments. Talent shows are really awesome. Trivia nights, penny wars would be great too. That could be, you know, each club has a penny wars. So you encourage all the student groups to save their pennies, and that money goes to like a charity of your choice. But whoever raises the most pennies gets like a pizza party or ice cream, you know, just something to build camaraderie and competition between clubs would be great. And then another popular one is restaurant fundraisers. Lots of restaurants will do that. One in particular is Chick-fil-A. We actually had our Student Nurses Association. They did a Chick-fil-A night. Actually, I think they did 2 Spirit nights. And then a portion of the proceeds for everybody that came during that time went to their RSO. So that was super cool. And these are just some other places that have them. This website, I'm going to bring this up as well. Let me stop sharing so I can pull it. It's also really popular. It gives you an idea of different ways to raise money. And another thing that I guess you could add is those student ones that you used to do in school, you know, where you're selling a chocolate bar for $5, or you know, your parents would get like a packet of, I know my mom loved it, where it was like pizza kits or like garden supplies, stuff like that, where, you know, people can purchase it. Because a wonderful thing about the internet is that you can share that with everybody you know, and they can order online and it'll be delivered to their door, and then you get a portion of the sales. So that's another option. So here, basically, you type in an address. Let's let it just allow my location. We're just going to type in Kingwood because that's close. And here, it's going to tell you all of the fundraising restaurants and how much back you get. So Mod Pizza, they donate 20%. You know, Dickie's, they donate 15%. So you can go down and see what you think students, faculty, staff, family members would actually want to go to. Because personally, you know, I would be like, a Mod Pizza would be great because I'm driving home, I need to feed my family. You know what, I'll just go there. It supports the students and I'm giving back. Rather than like a Cinnabon, for example, on here, it's like you only get so many items and it's not really something that I would want to eat for dinner, right? So I'm not going to order as much. So that's just something to think about. And it tells you the exact locations. And then we'll click on one and show you. So you get to pick a date, any meal details, and review it. And then you could also contact them directly. It just depends on what you want to do. But I thought this would be super interesting for everybody to just get a glimpse at other options. So this one's mainly for meals. So let me go back. If you guys have any questions, feel free to add them to the chat. I don't see any currently, but perfect. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the presentation. So fundraising dues. Make sure, as I mentioned, that all purchases are purchased out of pocket. We have had it in the past where RSOs purchase items through Fund 14 and use it for donations or use it for a fundraiser, and that's strictly not allowed. That's a big no-no from the business office. So we just want you to know that ahead of time so that way nobody makes any mistakes. Having adequate signage to promote your fundraiser is definitely a due, whether that be working, you know, with creative services to create something, social media flyers. You can make super easy flyers on Canva. If you're posting on campus, you want to make sure you follow the guidelines. There's certain spacing involved and certain messaging that has to be on it. So if you are going to do one on campus, you can contact me or contact Jessica Kale. She's our social media specialist in our office, and she'll be able to kind of put you guys in the right direction when it comes to that information if you do want to create your own. Again, be specific about how much money is going to go to the RSO nonprofit. Like I said, on the form, totally estimate, you know, estimates are completely fine. But we want to know how much money is going to go to that RSO. So you need to be specific about how much you're looking to get, especially if it's for a nonprofit too, right? So say you're donating to, an animal shelter, they're going to want to know, like, if you're partnering with them, how much you're looking, to give, and like what is important to you guys if there's a certain amount you want to get. So just make sure, you're being specific. Thank the donors, sponsors, and speakers. We always want you to be a good representation of LSC-Kingwood. So thank those who are donating items. So for instance, if you need maybe like poster board, or if you need supplies and you have family members that are donating money, or you talk to a small business and they're like, yeah, we'll totally donate a check to this event you're hosting. Definitely send them a thank you card, or maybe a picture of you guys at the event, afterwards. Any sponsors, if you have sponsors, speakers at events. And if you're doing like a restaurant night, it would be awesome to do like a thank you card to like Chick-fil-A, so they know, because that builds a good relationship with our college, and they'll be more likely to want to partner with you in the future. So just keep that in mind. And then make sure that your advisor is in charge of holding and depositing those fundraiser funds. As we mentioned, super important to have one person specifically in charge of those funds. And obviously an advisor is the perfect person for that. But make sure that your advisor is aware of the fundraiser, is on board with the fundraiser. Don't just put them in charge. Okay, so for fundraising don'ts, no crowdfunding. So donations that are made by donors, so say, I don't know, you talk to a small business, they don't want to donate any items to your event that you're hosting, but they're willing to write you a check for like $50. That can be donated to the business office. That'll go in your Fund 50. That's totally accepted, but no GoFundMe type fundraisers. We don't want you just posting on GoFundMe saying we need money for this, because it gives a bad light to the college specifically, because it looks like the college itself isn't doing enough, which you do get a certain amount of funding and stuff like that. So it's just best as well, like, to keep random people off the internet off of those pages, and to focus more on being able to raise that money yourselves as well. So you're more than welcome to ask for donations from donors, people you know, but don't just go online and create a GoFundMe account to get your money. It's just, we don't recommend it. No fundraisers that go against board policy. In the board policy, it does say no gambling, raffling, or holding lotteries without college approval. If you want to do something like that, so I know in the past, clubs have done, like football squares, where they're like betting on scores for football. I've never done it personally, but because it's something in our board policy that might not be allowed, the college has to approve that before it goes forward. So just be aware of that. Same with no sale and use of alcohol. According to, board policy, we're a dry campus. We don't allow alcohol on the premises, and, we would not want you selling that or having that at your event. So just be aware of that too. And obviously, due to COVID-19, no bake sales. We don't want you bringing in something that isn't, pre-made from a store. So I don't want you guys getting sick, and we don't want that possibility that someone else will get sick. So right now, no bake sales. I'm assuming that probably when we get back to a little more normalcy nowadays, they'll probably frown upon bake sales in general just because of everything. But there's plenty of other options with food involved that could be done. So that gives us a little bit more. Okay, so that is the gist of fundraising. Obviously, if you have more questions, please feel free to write them in the chat. I'm gonna pull that up. And I hope this was really helpful to you guys, because, fundraising can seem very daunting in the process, but when you break it down into smaller steps and really have those action plans and that brain dump, it really helps to start that process early and to make it a more simplified process. And when you know exactly who you're working with, if you're working with, like a Chick-fil-A, for example, sometimes those are easier because you don't have to do a lot of the hard, heavy lifting or anything like that, where you would in, like a car wash, for example, because you're just basically advertising for the event, and it's a win-win situation as well. So let's see. Check the Q&A just in case. I don't see any questions, but if you guys do have questions in the future, feel free to email me. We could talk about ideas. If you guys have ideas and you want to just bounce them off of me to see if they might get approved in the future, just let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys for attending today. And if you have any questions, like I said, just feel free to reach out. And here is my contact information. I am in my office currently. Usually I work on 1 week, off 1 week on campus right now, but I am available always via email. And if I don't get to the phone right away, you can leave a voicemail and it'll go to my email. So I'll be able to get that information too. So thank you guys again for attending.